people, it's me, Anja. My pronouns are she and her, and welcome back to my channel for part 5 of my favorite books with disabled main characters. I feel like we all know at this point that disabled people are one of the most underrepresented minority groups, so I hope that this video helps diversify your bookshelf. The first book on this list is called A Perfect Mistake. This story is a middle-grade contemporary following a main character who has ADHD and is trying to investigate the night that nobody really wants to talk about. This book is absolutely so fantastic and it was so well done, and I just really enjoyed it. First of all, the plot was so intriguing and absolutely so engaging. The characters were so well developed and so distinct. The friendships were so lovely and so wonderful, and the mystery was so intriguing and so awesome, and I was so wrapped up in everything that was happening in the characters and in the events, and it was just so good. I had really high expectations for this book because I've rated all of the author's previous books 4 out of 5 stars, so I was pleasantly surprised that this book was just as good as her previous books. You know what I mean? This book is so good and it's absolutely so underrated, and the ADHD representation was also so lovely and it felt so authentic. So anyway, all that to say, this book is really good, and with that said, I would highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Etta Invincible. This book is a middle-grade urban fantasy following a young black girl with hearing loss who gets entangled up in a fantastical adventure. This story is absolutely so fantastic and it was so good. First of all, the disability representation was so lovely and it was absolutely so wonderful. Second of all, the plot was so intriguing and it was so engaging. Third of all, the world building was absolutely so inventive and it was so interesting, and it really made the story so much more really good. This book is so good and I just really enjoyed it. The characters were so well developed and so distinct. The friendships were so lovely and so wonderful. This book is absolutely so good and it's so underrated, and I will gladly read more from this author in the future because they are literally so talented, because I love this book so much. This book deserves so much more hype, not just for the disability representation, but also for the entire adventure itself. It was so good and it was so immersive, and it was just so well developed in every single element. So anyway, with all that said, I would highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Fight and Flight. This story is a middle-grade contemporary that follows a pair of sapphic disabled main characters who bond after a school shooting, and the specific disability shown in the main characters, by the way, in case you were wondering, is that one of them has a chronic illness and the other one experiences panic attacks. So this book is so good and it's absolutely so awesome, but there is a trigger warning on it for school shootings and the trauma and the aftermath that comes from that, if that makes any sense, because like I mentioned, the two main characters bond after they both experience a school shooting. So anyway, with that said, this story is absolutely so fantastic and it's so well done. The queer representation as well as the disability representation was so good and it felt so authentic. The sapphic romance was so well developed and it was so lovely and it was so wonderful. The friendships as well felt so authentic and so well done. The characters themselves were so distinct and so well developed. The plot was so intriguing and so engaging. The conversations surrounding school shootings and the trauma felt so authentic and so well done, and it was unfortunately as well so timely and so important, because I know that so many kids, especially in the United States, have unfortunately experienced school shootings. So anyway, all that to say, this book was so good and it was so well done in so many different elements. So with all that said, I would highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Hummingbird. This story is a middle-grade contemporary magical realism story that follows a young main character who's a wheelchair user, and she's going to public school for the first time after being homeschooled her entire life, and she refuses to let her disability get in the way of adventure. This story is absolutely so fantastic and it was so well done. First of all, the disability representation was so good and it was so authentic. The plot was so intriguing and so engaging. The characters were so well developed and so distinct, and I loved the friendships and everything. This story is so good and it felt so awesome and so wholesome, and I know that it can resonate with so many young disabled people out there because it resonated with me You know what I mean? Like, this book is so good, and it's so well done, and there needs to be more stories like this that center on disabled main characters, because, like, the representation is so necessary, and it's so timely. You know what I mean? Like, these are the types of books that I wish I had when I was younger, so I'm so glad that they exist. Anyway, I digress. The point is, this book was so fantastic, and it was so well done, so with all that said, I would highly, highly recommend it. The last book on this list, and certainly not the least, because this book is one of my most recent 5-star favorites, is called Show Us Who You Are. This story is a middle-aged contemporary science fiction following a young autistic main character who gets wrapped up in some artificial intelligence. This story is absolutely so fantastic, and it was so good. First of all, the subject matter regarding artificial intelligence was portrayed so well and so authentically. Even though this book is technically science fiction, I can see how this story could have been set in modern day, if that makes any sense, without giving away the plot. Speaking of the plot was so intriguing and so engaging, the characters were so well developed and so distinct, the family dynamics as well as the friendships was so wonderful and so lovely. The disability representation in the main character's autism as well as her best friend's ADHD was so authentic and so well done. This book is so good and it deserves so much more hype because it's absolutely so fantastic and so well developed and so lovely and so timely and so important in so many different elements. So anyway, all that to say, I would highly, highly recommend this book because it was absolutely so good. So, in conclusion, since this video is a part 5 to my favorite books with disabled main characters, I will leave parts 1 through 4 in the description box below in case you haven't seen those videos already. And I hope this video helps diversify your bookshelf. If you enjoyed this video, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below the Christmas tree emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you're new. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!